Morning all. How you doing? Morning Franco. Things are cracking. Are they? I haven't looked yet. Just getting set for an out the gates gap fill play on the DAX. Depending on which broker you're using, there's two different gaps. There's one there and there's one there. I'm going for the big one. Morning Faisal. So if you look at a proper broker that only uses Frankfurt exchange times, we got high there, higher the candle there. We've gapped up slightly and pushed away from the open. We've gapped up into a double top, which we've just rejected. So I'm just playing basically this morning coming down to fill that. So we'll see if we get that. Morning Diamond. Yeah, you were talking about the reasoning behind gap fills this morning in the Telegram group. I don't actually know the reason behind gap fills. I've never researched it. I just know they fill. And that's what everybody knows. Gaps fill. Gaps fill in stocks. They fill in FX. They fill in indices. They just get filled. There's obviously a logical reason behind it. There's probably an inefficiency in buy and sell, which gets corrected, I guess. But I'm not 100% sure. I've never researched it. It's just one of those things. Gaps, the vast majority of the time, they just get filled. So you play them. But with the DAX specifically, any price action you see, like I have on this broker on 8cap, any price action you see after the Frankfurt close and before the Frankfurt open is all synthetic. This isn't real. This is just broker synthetic price action. Based on, obviously, expected open. Which is why some people will get different candlesticks as well. But yeah, if you find a decent broker like Forex, for example, they only plot the Frankfurt open properly. You know, it closes at 10:45, opens at 9 a.m. UK time. Well, 9 a.m., 7 a.m. rather, UK time. Looked into it and I can find lots of info on what they are and how often they get filled, but not much on why. No, as I say, I've never looked into it, never researched it. It's just a fact of life. It's from stock trading. When I use stock trading, we played gap fills all the time on stocks as well. When you get earning, we could call them gappers, earnings gappers. They work the same. You get an earnings release, the stock gaps on earnings. And then that gap tends to get filled. Just one of those things in... But yeah, don't know. Be interesting to find out if anybody can do some research and find a reason. But anyway. So, yeah, so we've got, depending on who you're looking at, we've got a couple of options for gap fill plays this morning. I've got a pending set, sell stop, ready at the open in case we just come straight down and slam it. I've also taken a short on my futures account on the S&P because the S&P will then tend to get dragged the same way. Yeah, I'm going to see if we can get an S&P gap fill. Sorry, an S&P move in line with the gap fill on the DAX. Got a couple of contracts short on that. I'm going to stop out above these highs. Actually, we've just swept the highs, haven't we? Just there. Just change the data. Don't want to plot entries. So we'll see if that gets filled as well. Self-fulfilling prophecy, maybe. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. Herd mentality. Could be anything. They just get filled. That's all we need to know. Not always, obviously, but and they don't always get filled within a day. You know, sometimes they'll take a couple of days to fill, but they do get filled. So that's the plan for this morning. We got 4 minutes to the open. Oil yesterday, my oil trade. Stop losses. So I went long on oil. We saw that playing out yesterday nicely. Then oil did that. Came down and took out my stop and then went into rotation. So my oil, I'm out of oil. Basically, I got stopped out. Because that's what happens when you use stops. They get stopped out. So, yeah, I'm out of oil. That long. Very annoying. Morning, Stevie. Stevie. One of them. Um, let's have a quick look at where we are this morning, movement-wise. We've got no ADR hits so far this morning. The market seems to have really calmed down in the last couple of days. So the initial shock of the war has worn off a little bit. The market movement, I think that we've had all the corrections, all the scared people running away from currencies and things. I think that's all sort of calmed down now. So we may be getting back to a little bit of a sense of normality from a price action perspective. So no ADRs today. We had a few ADR hits today, but they were quite normal ADR hits, nothing out of the ordinary there. RSIs have kind of stabilized. Yeah, so we've gone back into a kind of nice sort of usual trading environment. So I'm going to watch this week, see what unfolds with Ukraine, see what unfolds with price action this week based off the back of the rate announcement for Europe tomorrow, and then potentially go back to position trading next week. But we will still get things shaking the market up to do with Ukraine. Obviously, all the time that Ukraine war is going on, there is potential for catastrophic movement. So it's still a dangerous time, but we'll have to kind of see what happens with it. But it is calming down. I want to see it calm down for a few days, really, with no weird price action that I don't understand. And I also want to see what the COT report says next week, because I think that's going to be thrown out completely. So this afternoon we've got Jolt at 3, which may well move the dollar a little bit. We've got crude at 3:30, and we've got the bond auctions later. But tomorrow is the main news of the week. It's the Euro rates and the ECB press conference and CPI for the US. So tomorrow is the main day. And then we've got CAD on Friday. So today I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a little bit of accumulation on the FX pairs. Indices, I don't know. We'll have to have a look at indices in a minute. They were an absolute nightmare yesterday. I was very lucky to come out of it unscathed yesterday. But yeah, indices were shocking. But we'll have a look at all the RSIs and everything after the open. So basically I have a sell under the lows of that candle there. Looking to get gathered up if we get a short play. Sorry, I was just reading something else quickly. So DAX, how long have we got? We've got 1 minute. We've got 5 minutes to the open, really, haven't we? So let's have a quick look at the indices. So from a daily perspective at the moment on the DAX, wow, gapped up there. We've got basically yesterday as that bullish engulfing. So remember I was saying we are so extended after these moves down to the lows. I would expect a pullback. We got far too far away from the 20, or 24 in this case. Big sell-off coming in. So I was expecting a pullback day, which we got yesterday, which was very nice. Unfortunately, yesterday's price action across the board was hideous. It was virtually untradeable on the indices. It was just all over the gaff. So it was a very difficult day to trade, but we did get that movement. Unfortunately, the movement didn't really happen until sort of into New York, and then we had that big pullback, and it was just horrible. It was very, very difficult to sort of get into any decent positions on it. Nasdaq, same sort of thing. We had terrible trading conditions. We ended up with a down day on the Nas. We ended up a down day on the S&P. We ended up a down day on the Dow. So, it was just a horrible, you can see by the size of the wicks on it, it was a horrible, horrible choppy day. So it's very, very difficult to tell where we're going at the moment. We still haven't got down to these lows. I think we're still going to come down and retest these lows. We are still in a bear market. It's just that it's due a pullback. It's had an awful lot of down movement. So potentially, I think we should be seeing a little bit of a pullback and a drop today. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. The DAX has obviously gone completely the opposite. Same as UK stocks. We're pushing up. So they're out of sync now, the DAX and the S&P and all the US indices. But still down everything long term. We're still in a bear market. It's just obviously potentially where we are at the moment. We're waiting for a little bit of a pullback and then a next leg down. So not too sure about this trade. It's a big old opening range again. I think I'm going to get stopped out in one of those positions. That was an ad, basically. Shouldn't really have ads turned on at the open because it's too volatile. That was a silly mistake. That might cost me 0.5%. We'll see. Doesn't seem to want to be going immediately short. Aussie pairs looking stronger overnight. Yeah, we had Aussie news overnight. Lowe was speaking last night. We'll have a look at the Aussie pairs in a minute and see what impact that's had. Morning, Andy. Morning, Rahat. Got some building work going on at home. Oh dear. I've just finished all my building work, thankfully. No more tradespeople. I've had tradespeople in my house, literally what seems like the last 6 months. Never made so much tea. For M5 Scalp, how to get today's direction bias, whether to go short or long. You can't. Nobody knows which way it's going. Possible to tell. I've got a bit too much on this. I'm just going to close this out. I think. Let me just see where it goes from here. I'm just above break even on this trade. I got in a bit too quick on that second position. I didn't realise I'd auto scaling in turned on, so I don't really want to scale in at the open. I'd rather make my own decisions on that. Yeah, I'm just going to shut this out. Point one. Closing one. On the futures. Actually, I'm going to close 2 on the futures and hold that one. Give that a little bit of time to pull back. Assume we're going to stay in the opening range and then get gathered up for the second position. Don't want to get too greedy at the open. Let's look for a 50 bounce maybe. So I'm jack of all trades at the moment, just trading far too many platforms and accounts. So looking for a pullback. So it's a big opening range high there. Big opening range high. Your directional bias for the day, basically, you don't have a directional bias. It's difficult to have a directional bias for the day. The only thing you can really do is look at the daily chart and think, right, well, where are we? We're due a bit of a pullback because we've had 4 down days on the trot. On the NAS, for example. Usually you get somewhere between 3 to 4 down days and then you get a pullback, yeah? 4 down days, pullback. 3 down days, pullback. 4 down days, starting to pull back. You get the odd thing where you have massive pullbacks. But yeah, 2 to 3 days and a pullback is very, very typical. So, if you've had 3 or 4 down days on the trot, you would kind of assume we're probably going to have a bit of a push today. Whether we have a push and a green to red, you just can't tell. Which is why if you're going to be trading short time frames like M5 and scalping, price action is king. You're in and out based on what price is doing right now. Right now it's bearish. But where it's going to go, it's very, very difficult to tell. 3 down days, pullback. 2 down days, pullback there. 3 down days, pullback. 3 down days, pullback. 2 down days, big down day, pullback. Yeah, it's just the rhythm of the market. Crisis in Ukraine, still pulling back, but way, way, way bigger down days than normal. The rhythm of the market is buying and selling. So people are buying and selling stocks with stock indices. Yeah. So a lot of speculative stock traders are multi-day holds. They're swing traders. So they're scaling in and out of positions, which causes this movement. It's not much difference to Forex, really. Movement. Market structure's the same. Don't like trading these big ranges at the open. It's very hard to tell where we're going. Aussie dollar yen was a good battle. Got some gain on the pullback. Pocketed a few pips. Good. What's the outlook for gold? We'll have a look at gold in a minute. I just want to see what happens with the rest of the open. See if we get that fill. So we've just tested the opening range highs. See if we can get this fill done. So just going in with a sell stop underneath this candle. So basically the idea here is if we're pushing out the opening range high and we reject the opening range high, we should break the opening range low and go south at the open. If so, I'm going to get gathered in and go short. You can always use the opening range low, obviously, for the entry. And obviously if this continues going, then I'm not in. We have just double topped on this as well, so potentially we're going to do that. Big strong push at the open. We've got a lot of range already at the open. Look. On MT4 US 500, the stop loss and TP is 4,800. It's not pips, it's points. Your stop loss and TP will be based on your broker. So my S&P, I want to be using, something like 1,000, 2,000 points. That candle there is 1,500 points. Your broker might be 150 points. Depends on your broker. So you adjust it. That's why it's adjustable. You adjust it for your broker. Some brokers will be in pips, some brokers will be in points. So adjust it as you need to. It's price movement, yeah. It's a candlestick. On average, candlesticks look to be about 800 pips. Yeah, so you just adjust your stop loss based on what the price action is. Okay, so hovering at the highs at the minute. So there's an opening range breakout long opportunity there, which is a lot of pips. 13,000. So I'm going to go long one. Whoa, hang on. What the hell? So I was just going to scratch that. What happened there? There's 13,000, isn't it? Not 1,300. So let's try that again. What? Why is that set to 4,000? I'm not going mad, am I? What's going on there? That's using default instead of the... I've got the EA running on another machine with the same magic number. got to be so careful with magic numbers. It's the only problem with EAs. Yeah, I have. What an idiot. Right, okay. Well, let's hope this one goes. Let's just go with the 4,000. What the hell? It's all going to work out fine. Tight stop loss happened to me also. Oh, I've got it set to this candle. God, well done, Rahat. You've just... That's my fault, not using my own tools properly. But hey, it's working out, so I don't care. Okay, so we've got an opening range break to the high. So I've only got 0.1% in the bank so far this morning. I've just stopped out on my futures position. Loss. Should have banked it. Idiot. Never mind. So I'm closing that out 1 sec. It's 0.3 in the bank, 0.4 now. So I've just seen something on my other platform. We've got double tops forming everywhere on all the other indices at the minute. Not too keen on all the way all the other indices are looking at the moment. It's pushing through now. Just we've got a massive, really supportive area here. I'm just worried about it just poking its nose out and popping back down. I think I'd rather wait for this to get established and then pull back and long on it. Very jittery at the moment with the. See, the NAS is still within inside range. After yesterday's whipsaw action, I don't want to get caught out at the open. I'm not particularly keen on opening range breaks at the minute because the market's either goes crazy or it goes not crazy and we just go into a whipsaw. So because I had a tight stop on that one, it was a bit too risky. If I'd have had the stop down there, I wouldn't be too worried about it. But it's too far. US dollar CAD short, getting 28 pips. Played the open well. Good. So you're Dixie at the moment. Yeah, coming down hard at the open. Obviously, we can see that because the indices is going up. Whether or not it's going to continue. See, I mean, this is the other thing as well. The Dixie is due a pullback. Big rejection wick there. Quite glad I got out of that one, to be honest. The Dixie is definitely due a pullback. We've had very, very, very strong moves. We did try and do it yesterday, but we got an inside bar. It was bearish, but nowhere near as bearish as we were expecting. There was a lot of announcements yesterday, obviously, on the back of oil being restricted in the US. Just putting a sell stop under those lows. I get a feeling we're going short today. We're up at these highs. We're rejecting these highs again. And the fact that we got the gap filled is just worrying me at the minute. Just going to go short again on the futures. Let's have another crack at this one. God, that just stopped me out. Look. Typical. There we go. Didn't like the look of those other indices this morning. Forex is coming down hard as well. Right, let's have just a quick look through the markets while we're waiting for this to all happen. So Aussies, last night we had news, Aussie dollar news. Well, we had Lowe speaking last night. Nothing much happened. Aussie dollar CAD, fairly decent moves on the Aussie. Nothing dramatic though. Off the back of the news, so obviously didn't say anything that was particularly impactive. Not really any movement overnight on anything during the Asian session, so everything's been kind of fairly stable. We had a very slow session yesterday. We had a few grindy bits and pieces, but the London session was very sideways and the New York session was very sideways. As I said, yesterday was just an absolute chop fest. It's horrible to trade on low time frames on everything. But we are in accumulations here. So this is basically the aftermath of the shock, basically. Why is it open a new chart? The aftermath of the kind of shock of the move. So everything obviously moved dramatically for about 3 or 4 days with the war. And now the market's sort of thinking about what to do next, and obviously everybody's now, by the looks of things, got their money positioned where they want it, and next move will be on the rate announcement tomorrow at 12:45 for the euro. So today we could possibly see an unwinding of the last couple of days' moves, but more than likely some kind of accumulation move ahead of tomorrow. So RSI extensions obviously are all starting to play out at the moment. We've got embedded up there on the hourly on US dollar CAD. Yeah. So if you'd have got in on that initial extension looking for the pullback, you'd have got in and you'd be out or getting out of it shortly. So a lot of the RSI extensions on the hourlies worked, and those are the ones I was saying to monitor. The US dollar pairs, the CAD, the Swiss, the yen, and to a certain extent those pounds, but though wasn't too sure about those pound ones, but they have all played out as well. So everything kind of that was decent and should be moving well has moved well, but nothing dramatic yesterday. So today is kind of again this week I'm kind of watching stuff to see what happens. And to see where the market decides to take itself over the next few days, now that everything's sort of calmed down slightly with movement on the back of the war. So RSI extensions on the hourly and the 4 hourly. I think the only thing you want to be aware of at the minute is the euros, obviously because we've got the rate announcement tomorrow, and bias is still going to be short on the euro unless they come out and say something tomorrow and change those rates. I don't think it's likely to happen, but it does happen every now and again. And obviously the situation we're in at the moment with the Ukraine, anything can happen. So we may well see something happening on the euros. And they're all very, 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 obviously have been very, very, very extended. We've seen RSI extensions on the 4 hours that we've never seen before. So those moves are all played out. But as I said, I'll be looking for shorts, excuse me, off of pullbacks. The difficulty is where on earth do you pick a pullback in that? Normally we're pulling back to support and resistance. There is none. The only thing you can use as support and resistance is that little candlestick there on his own, or back to where the move started a week ago. There's just nothing to go on. It's literally, let your finger stick it in the air, and if the wind changes direction, that could be when it goes. There is no technical analysis you can play on these euros at the minute. But bias overall should still be short, I think, on the euros. So the pounds have all started to recover. So we've got a few pound pairs, but they're all got. The thing that worries me about the pound, which is uncharacteristic of the pound, is it's moved very, very, very strongly in line with what the euro did. It's been hit almost as hard as the euro, and the fact that this is pulling back, it all feels like this still wants to go down. Still a lot of uncertainty, obviously, with what's going on, and at any moment something could happen with NATO. Then NATO gets put into the fight in some way, and then all currencies are going to go mental again. So it's still very, very dangerous time to be looking for any kind of longer term positions or any longer term bias. But things are starting to calm down, as we can see. Pound US dollar is very, very extended on the 4 hour. Normally I would be saying, you can see where I've got my fib drawn on there. That's where I would normally be looking for some kind of pullback. Failing that, somewhere up to that level there. So this inefficiency or this propulsion gap you've got there is where I would be looking for pullbacks to come to. The pound hasn't managed to get out of this accumulation, and quite often accumulations are second legs. So it's very difficult. If you play the range break to the high, likely you will get that move. If you play the range break to the low, you're likely going to get that move. So at the moment, really, the play on all of these things is pending orders above the highs and the lows. Wait for some news events to trigger you and get you in. You've got a reversal alert on it, but it's really tight, and there's no technical reason at the moment for it to come back, because we don't know how much of this money is speculative and how much of this has just been moving in and out of the market based on risk. So difficult. The US dollars, obviously, these are all starting to play out at the moment on the pullbacks. I'm going to say all of them. CAD is. US dollar is still along. Whether or not we're going to get a pullback on the US dollar before next leg, very, very difficult to tell. And obviously that will be partly decided by what goes on in the Ukraine as well. So the oil has been stopped. The US has stopped buying oil. The Russians have turned around and are turning off the pipelines to Europe. What impact that's going to have financially moving forward short term, don't know. Very, very difficult to tell. So again, I'm still much more of the opinion at the moment the safest things to be doing is to concentrating on hourlies and 15-minute RSI extensions and just trying to play the small pullbacks like these in here. So in this 4 hour, you've got all of this movement, all of this chop in there that is all tradable. But whether this is going to come back and do a normal sort of profit take move, it's just impossible to tell. So I'd be concentrating on the hourly extensions on the RSIs. At the moment, we're completely flat on those, mainly based on obviously what happened yesterday. So when the market goes into an accumulation or into a pullback from being heavily extended, obviously the RSI moves back in and gives no signal. And like with the pounds, if you go into an accumulation, the RSI will just pull back and sit midline. So at the moment, that's kind of where I would be looking to concentrate, to look for positions and look for entries. And obviously, just take M5 reversal alerts when you get those happening. Yeah, they still work. But very difficult for directional bias at the minute. Somebody was saying this morning in the group, which is in the Telegram group, which is something I've not really looked into and considered, mainly because I only created the price action toolkit a couple of weeks ago, which is back into above that opening range now again. Is potentially using the market reversal alerts indicator as a directional bias. So obviously when we get a market structure break like that, then look for price action patterns based in that direction. So that may be something that is worth looking at. I haven't looked at it. I've never thought about testing it, but it could be a decent indicator of directional bias. So, as we've had the last market reversal alert long, just take long wick candles, long wick buy candles. Just take bullish engulfings to the upside. So there's possibilities there. It's worth having a look at that as well for short-term opportunities. But yeah, at the moment, oil is in an accumulation. Still thinking long on this. I still want to go long on this oil. I might actually put a pending above there this morning. Going for 150 a barrel. So that's the play I had yesterday, basically. Same sort of thing. I took the breakout of the highs yesterday and all started going very nicely. And then they literally came down and stopped me out. Same play, really. Stops under the lows and just look for longs. And this thing, we should get a decent push. You just need to make sure you don't get this whipsaw. And unfortunately, yesterday we just got all this whipsaw reaction across all markets yesterday, and it just stopped loads and loads out, unfortunately. But yeah, I like long on oil. I'm going to put another one up the top as well. This is a sort of a longer term play, so going to hold this one for the week and see if we can get something to trigger a big move on oil and get a decent move out of it. So I think it's worth a shot. It's just unfortunate yesterday get taken out on that one. Feel the less stressful market vibes. Yeah, it's still very difficult to trade though. This chop. It's the chop that kills anybody trading small time frames. That is what kills you. What we had on the S&P and all the indices yesterday, that movement up, down, and then, yep, we're going bullish, nah, come down, then we're going to scream up, yep, definitely it's a long, no, it's not, it's a short. It's just all of this chop is just very, very hard to trade small time frames. When you're position trading, I don't care. This doesn't make any difference to me whatsoever. When you're trying to trade anything small time frame wise, this yesterday was just hideous. Yeah, at the New York Open, it's like we're going short, and then we pulled back, and then we said we're going short again. Then we went, no, we're going to go long. Then we went, no, we're going to go short, and it was just stop out after stop out after stop out. Awful. If you were lucky enough to catch the bullish engulfing that did that, you made loads of money. If you caught the bearish engulfing that did that, you made loads of money. But there's 2 trades yesterday. The rest of it was just chop. Terrible. Just a horrible, horrible thing to trade. But market is what the market is. I'm in short UF. It's rejected the 261 fib extension. 261 fib extension is a profit take extension. But yes, you can use them as obviously rejections because that's where we would expect it to stop. So yeah. Probably a very good trade idea, that one. US dollar Swiss. Let's get rid of that fib from another pair. So we've got this high as well, which we are kind of hovering around on at the moment. The Swiss franc is uncharacteristically weak at the minute. Well, not weak, but not moving in either direction. The Swissie's been kind of off the table for the last week. Hasn't really done anything at all, which is very unusual. Usually, at least 2 times a week, we see a big Swiss franc move. We've had nothing off the Swissie. I think all the money's been pulled out of the Swissie and nobody's bothering anymore. But yeah, very odd. Yo-yo scalping US dollar, yeah. With the scalping side of things at the minute, look at this. Just again, this morning is a prime example. Short, long, short, long, short, long. It's just Christmas trees. It just goes red, green, red, green, red, green. Just can't trade it. There's no trend. And all of a sudden it will fly down here and you'll be like, yes, we are definitely getting that opening range. And then it'll go, no, we're not. Just a nasty thing at the minute. Everything's nasty. The worst thing about it is you tend to sit in accumulation and drawdown for like half an hour, looking like your trade's working out, and then you jump out. Which is why I started trading M1 yesterday on the S&P, because I wanted to be in and out super fast, high lot sizing. That was a lovely trade yesterday on the S&P, that final trade that I took as well. That got me out of the hole yesterday. That short went further as well. But yeah, we'll see. So still short on this. We've gone nowhere so far. Market has no direction at the moment this morning. Let's give this a little bit of time and see if we do actually get any directional bias. At the moment, obviously, we're sitting above the 2050 moving averages, so we are long bias at the minute. This trade that I've got on is a gap fill trade. So either the gap is going to fill at the open, or we're going to push up and maybe come back and do it at a later stage. But it's a very tiny gap this morning as well. Literally, the gap is 42 pips. And the fact that the gap is also formed within price action at the end of the New York Open means that I'm not 100% convinced that they may even want to do that one. You get these gaps every now and again that get missed, and they tend to be the small ones. So we'll see. But this will either, it'll either get there or it'll stop it out one way or the other. Yeah, so I'm out of that one. Let's get stopped out of that. Yeah. I've got trailing stop on at the moment on this as well. So I've just been stopped out, basically break even on that trade, I think. Yeah, break even stop. Yeah, we're just sitting in accumulation at the moment on the NAS as well. All the US stocks are the same. So there's no direction yet. What do we do today? Very difficult. Has anybody got any pairs in specifically that they want to have a look at? Just while we're waiting for some price action to form. US dollar CAD. So US dollar CAD M15, we've got an RSI extension. So potentially take 1 minute reversal alert on that. 8-point stop. 8-pip stop. Trade it back up to the Asian lows. 20 points. Pips. So used to talking in points now. Trading indices. So US dollar CAD, there's a 15-minute RSI extension possibility there for a long. Nice tweezer bottoms. Good price action. Tweezer bottoms on M5. God, it makes you want to trade M1, doesn't it? So I'm just doing other things while I'm waiting for something to happen. Okay, so we're pushing out of these highs again at the opening range off that bullish engulfing. So I'm going long one. Let's see if we're going to get a push up this morning. Oh, like watching paint dry. Right. Like we use break-even average for stop loss. Can we use break-even average TP also in case market's much aggressive against you and you want to be out at break-even average TP? You can't. Not quite sure I understand what you mean. So you want to move your TP to break even? No, there's no button to do that. You just close. So you're saying if you're in drawdown on the position and you want to get out at break even, yeah, when it gets to break even, just close it. But if I would say if it's getting to break even like it is here, hold it because it's probably going to go your way. And what I would do is go, right, let's drag our stops up. If you're not happy with the trade, move your stop loss, drag your stop. Seem to be stalling the US dollar CAD. Yeah, it's all stalling. Everything's stalled. It's moments like this when I suffer from indecision. Yeah. Yeah, I mean this is a difficult one today because there's no directional bias. We've got no movement. So we're waiting. We're in accumulation basically. So we're sitting in accumulation at the moment. It will move at some point. soon, up or down. So this is where somebody said earlier about how do we decide on the bias, whether we're longing or shorting. Your bias is based on what you think is going to happen today. So if you think they're going to do a gap fill, you're short biased. You just have to sit and wait for something to happen. This is, the patience part of it. We sit through accumulations waiting for markets to move. Yeah. That's what it is. We're in an accumulation. It will either pop high or it will pop low. You just have to set yourself up for which way you think it's going to pop. And the way you think it's going to pop is going to be based on other things like your daily bias. Yeah. At the moment, I think this is a short today because we've put in so much bullish price action at the open. If you look at how much range we've got today already. Yeah. Look at the size of that green candle. And then look at the average size of a candle when on a normal day. Yeah. We've done it already this morning. Market's pushed. Likelihood is it's either going to push up higher and then it's going to come back and end with this type of candlestick or this type of candlestick. And if it does, brilliant, my long will get played out. And then I will be short bias after a strong push to the highs. But you don't know anything. Nobody knows anything. And this is where your risk reward comes into it, and your trade management, which is a discretionary thing. And there is no if this does that, then do that type scenario. This is why I've got these buttons, because if I see this just mucking about up here and don't like the look of it, I close it. There's no EA in the world that's going to be able to make these decisions. You've got to have a conviction one way or the other and stick to it, or change your conviction. The best traders are going to change their conviction. Yeah. I was short bias. I've tried a short. I've tried a long. I didn't like that long. Good job I got out of it. I went short. Didn't like it particularly. Got stopped out at a trailing stop. Now I've flipped long again, because I'm in exactly the same thing as the market is, in an accumulation. I'm waiting. If this suddenly goes bang and puts a massive bearish engulfing in, probably looking short. It's price action, isn't it? You just got to look at what the market is telling you. At the moment, I'm biased long above the moving averages. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, how am I going to play the gap fill? There is no easy answer. And obviously, as the almonds have said, these are the times where people get killed, because you flip long, flip short, flip long, flip short. Before you know it, you've lost 6 trades in a row. You're down 3.5%. Sod it, let's go 2% long. And that's it. That's where it all goes wrong. You just got to be patient and accept you're going to have days where you're going to make losses like this. I say losses like this. I haven't lost anything yet. I'm 0.4% up. I haven't made anything, but, well, I have. I've made 0.4%, but it's not... Can't make money when the market's not moving. Yeah, at the moment we're above the opening range high. We're above the moving averages, but we're mucking about at resistance. The 15-minute chart is a killer. Will suck in the FOMO crowd. Yeah. $15-minute is my favourite time frame for intermediate long-term trading, but not, if you want to intraday trade, M5, M1 really. M15 intraday is quite difficult. because you will get an awful lot of chop. Dixie took a nice drop in the past 30 minutes. Yeah. And now we've stalled. Like they say in the military, let your training take over. Trust your instincts. Yeah. It's very easy when you're trading small time frames to second guess yourself constantly. And try to have your trades or hope that your trades play out. The whole fear of missing out thing is what everybody suffers with, and it's just a fact of life. When you're watching candlestick patterns, that is going to happen to you. But the difference, I think, between people that make money and lose money in the markets is how you react when the market is moving against you. So if you sit there and price pushes down like this, and then pushes up and then pushes down with another bearish engulfing, if you're one of the type of people that is going to go, oh, well, hopefully it won't hit my loss, that's where I think most people tend to fail. What you should be doing there is cutting that with 0.2% loss, 0.3% loss instead of your entire stop loss. Cutting those losers where you don't think it's going to. And then if it goes that way, fine, get back in again. But cut the losses, and the winners will just happen. Basically, you'll catch these moves. So you'll see this one here. You'll get that bullish engulfing in there, and then you'll ride that. That gave you no reason to get out whatsoever, did it? After that initial whipsaw, there was not one bear candle there. That whacking great shooting star, long wick. That was your exit. Yeah, and it's these ones that you catch that pay you, and you're going to get chopped around like this for a lot of your trades. But it's these ones. This one here yesterday, the one that I caught on the S&P yesterday. That short that I caught on the S&P. That took me from a $600 loss to a $300 or $230 win yesterday. It's one trade. It's there, wasn't it? So I got in here. I scaled in 3 times and I exited here. Yeah. That took me from a $600 loss to a $300 gain. But I got chopped to pieces yesterday in this, or just got chopped to pieces yesterday. You've got to sit through the chop and the crap and cut those losses. Just get out of those positions which aren't working, and then just wait for those ones to come along that are going to pay out. Like this rubbish. My God, this is like watching paint dry, isn't it? There's not a lot happening anywhere at the moment. The S&P's trying to get new highs. The Dow's trying to get new highs. Nas has just managed it, So, depends who's in the lead today. If the Nas is the winner today, we should see the rest of the indices following suit. S&P's just trying new highs, but this is not very convincing, is it? But this is the problem. We've had such a strong movement so far today across the board difficult to tell if we're going to have the legs to actually put more in, but DAX is sideways. Blimey. Anybody still awake? Okay, we got some bullish movement happening on the other indices. Not enough. I just don't like the fact that we're putting in this this pause up at these highs. I'm putting my stop up underneath there. I'm just going to cancel that pending sell stop as well. I don't like the look of this. It's not going anywhere. And we had that big bearish push. We had another big bearish push which has been corrected. It's just this is not bullish. Doesn't seem very bullish at all at the minute. So I'm probably going to just escape this one. It'll either go or it won't. If it doesn't go, I don't want to be getting out of it down here. There's no point holding it. Franco's still awake. Chris is still awake. Got some people still awake. That's good. Don't fall asleep with your finger on the mouse either. That can accidentally cost you a lot of money. Spike the likes. Yeah, good idea, Frank. Everybody hit the like button. Hit the thumbs up button. It's about the only button you want to be hitting at the moment. My God. I hope it's not going to be like this all day. The Russian ministries have been hacked in anti-war protests. Someone's hacked the Russians. That's funny. IEA Executive Director Birol, we can supply more oil to the market if required. That's good. So Putin can stop supplying his oil. Other people will step in and supply it. Not sure of the logistics, but hey. What's your favourite whiskey? Want to keep it in mind when I pass my challenge to send you a gift. Oh, that's nice, Chris. Let me just Google. Most expensive Whiskey. I'll have a bottle of Macallan Anniversary Malt from 1928, please. That's $200,000. Seriously, I don't need... I've got lots of whiskey. I like whiskey. Everybody keeps buying me whiskey for my birthday and Christmas. I've got so much whiskey. Japanese whiskey's good. Suntory. The white noise of the price movement is sleep-inducing. Yeah. There you go. I'm stopped out of that position. Don't even know what that was. Not a lot. 0.1%. I'm down to 0.2% this morning. Woohoo! I think this might be an afternoon session. Breckenridge. Yeah, Breckenridge is nice. Any whiskey's nice. I don't have any. I'm a Jack Daniels man. Me, I'm bourbon. Have been anyway. Lafrague 10-year. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Guys, it's even trade. You can't even trade this on M1. Look, it's the most hideous accumulation I've ever seen in my life. It's a nice 50 bounce on the 1 minute chart. If you want to take maybe 1.5 pips out of it. CAD yen, we've got some movement on the FX pairs. CAD yen's just hit highs. Again. Sorry, no, M15 just hit. So potential short opportunities on the CAD yen. So we've had a very big, strong move out of Asia, which has been continued into London. We've got yesterday's high approaching there. So you could look for short opportunities, CAD yen. Slightly starting to turn shortly. US dollar CAD is just sitting in that accumulation. We're at yesterday's low, bounced off to the pip on yesterday's low with a tweezer bottoms. See, this is indicative to me of a pullback required on the US dollar, which means we should have a down on the indices. $200, look, chopped to pieces this morning. So 42.38 around that area is highs or potential double top on the S&P. So we are moving off to the upside on the indices. Now I stopped out of that position. Although the DAX is still not going anywhere, so really lagging. Glen Orange is the drink I want. Oh, yeah. That's a cheap one, Glenmorangie. Yeah. Very nice. I love Google now. Look, I started out in web design and programming and did some marketing on Google when Google AdWords started. And I remember when you used to do a Google search, you used to get a few thousand results. You type in Glen Orange now, you get 237 million pages. How on earth are you ever meant to get that spot? Ridiculous. 237,000 search results in 0.26 seconds as well. That's a meaty server. Okay, well the DAX is just not happening today, so I'm going to leave it there. I haven't made any. Well, I've made 0.2% this morning. I'm going to leave it there on the DAX because there's nothing happening on it. The US indices seem to be moving more at the moment than the DAX. I'm not quite sure why the DAX is so sleepy this morning. Could potentially be ahead of tomorrow's rate announcement. There just may not be a lot of stock movement this morning. NAS is pushing slightly out the highs. So is the S&P. The Dow is just made a new high, but there's no market movement. So I think what I'm going to do this morning, because the DAX is untradeable, is potentially watch the futures and see if we can get the futures up to 42.38. And then I actually might just stick a limit order in there. Oh, not buy stop. I'm just going to stick a sell limit just under those highs. I might just pop it down at the body. And see if I can get into a short position, because we've had a big strong push in the Globex session. So if we can get a push up to there, I think that's probably a good short-term short play. But you can obviously do that on on CFDs as well. So it's this level here. 42.39, 42.40. So I think that's really the only play I'm interested in today, because this it's just no direction. There's no speed on anything this morning. So there's no point in trying to squeeze anything out of this. It's just not moving. So FX pairs wise, again, it's grindy. If you stick a moving average on this, it's going up. But Aussie dollars, Swiss, yeah, the Aussie dollar's moving a little bit against the yen and the Swiss. Looks like we've got a weak yen. Yeah, we've got a weak yen at the moment. That's the only thing moving. So yeah, nothing much to trade. Very dangerous to try and extract money out of this, because you're just not. If you're going to do it, you need to get in and out within a couple of candles and just take tiny little bits and pieces out of the market, which is just not really fun. So oil trade hasn't triggered. So I've got buy stop on oil above those highs. We just had a reversal alert on that and retest. 3-bar reversal just gone in as well on M5. So potentially lots of bullish price action forming on the oil. Gold. We're going to have a look at gold, won't we? So gold's rolling over. Long gold, obviously, in times of crisis. So as you can see, it's obviously still going up. High on gold is anywhere it wants to go, really. As long as people are willing to buy it, it will continue to inflate. There's not this level here, which I've got drawn on already. We didn't quite make it yesterday, but it's pretty close, obviously. So this could well be a double top forming at the minute, but I suspect at the moment with the gold, any gold trades, you're looking at sort of a double top pullback and then a continuation bounce. That's the last down candle before we move to the highs. So anywhere around that area I suspect is where you'd be looking for gold to drop back to. It's very, very, very extended, but RSI extensions on gold can be very unreliable because gold goes into squeezes. If you put a fib on the move, which if that is the completed move, we're looking for something between a 38 to a 50 retracement. Unlikely you get there today. As I say, I think tomorrow is the movement day with the euro. So we're waiting for the euro news for the rates at 12:45. So pre-market tomorrow, I think, is when we're going to see decent movement. Wasn't expecting it to be quite so sluggish today, though. Look at that. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles. 7 candle pretty much range we're in. So, I mean, there is an argument for having a pending order above the highs there and a pending order below the lows. Because when this thing does actually decide to wake up and someone who actually buys or sells some stock, we're probably going to get a decent movement, aren't we? We're going to get an accumulation break. And you're probably going to get a good 2 to 3 candle move out of it. Could be starting now, look. There we go, just touch those lows again. In fact, where we are right now is probably not a bad idea, is it? Buy stop above the highs, sell stop below the lows. One of those is going to get triggered. I think that's literally all you can do at the moment. Obviously, the danger of playing that trade is we go like that and expand our range and I get taken out of both. But at the moment, I can't really see anywhere trading the market. So might as well just either sit here and do nothing or have a high risk trade in place. Yeah, I think that's my play this morning. I'd like to see this break down because if this breaks down, I think there's a very good chance we'll get that gap fill on the DAX because we've had such a strong push. But yeah, we're not moving anywhere, are we? So I will call it a day there. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a buy stop there and a sell stop there. Futures, I'm going to look for a push up to the highs and then push up to a double top and then try and play a pullback if we can get there. And obviously looking for just a decent move, really. Just try and get this back into profit. But we're not going anywhere. There's no point in sitting here watching this play out because there's nothing to watch. So I'll be back at 2 o'clock this afternoon. News-wise, obviously be aware of this afternoon jolts. But that's not till 3 o'clock, so we'll be online for that 3 o'clock this afternoon. That's really all we've got to look forward to. And then crude a bit later on. So if you've got any CAD pairs, that'd be very interesting to see what the market makes of that now, because this is the first crude release we've had since... we obviously had a crude release last Wednesday because we get one every Wednesday, but this is the first one we've had since there was talk about the oil pipelines being closed and oil purchasing and supply being disrupted by countries. So it'd be interesting to see what impact the current supply has on price with that. I think we might get some decent movement on crude this afternoon. So that crude oil play that I've got lined up, hopefully we'll get a strong push out the highs this afternoon. And I might be able to bank some money on that. But I'm not really sure where that's going. Say 150 is what I'm targeting. I don't think there's any reason why it shouldn't get there if oil is going to continue to go up in price. Another $20 on the barrel. It's probably conservative. We've got a breakout to the low. Some short DAX. So we'll see if we get whipsawed out on this. That's all I can do this morning. But the S&P is coming down now as well. Yeah. Do I take a short on the S&P as well? Nah. I don't want to over leverage. There's no point in taking a loss on here and a loss on the CFD account. I might as well just assume that if it comes down to here, fine, whatever. At least that trade then goes into profit. But it's putting back. We'll see. That's all I'm doing this morning. I'm not going to take any other trades, I don't think, unless we get any movement up on the S&P to that level. And then we'll see where we are this afternoon. But hopefully we'll get a decent open on the afternoon session. If it does liven up, I might take some more trades. But at the moment, if it's going to be this sluggish all day, I'm not going to bother. No point. Just going to get chopped to bits. So, okay. So anything you need, come in the Telegram group. I will be in there all day. I'm going to be working on the price action toolkit EA this morning for MT5 and do some testing on that. So hopefully I'll get that sorted and out. But apart from that, I'm going to call it a day there, and I will see you guys this afternoon at 2:00. Anything you need, come in the Telegram group. Give us a thumbs up if you like the stream. There's not a lot to like this morning, unless this trade plays out, in which case then, yeah, I'll be making 2%. So yeah, that's the trade. All right, guys. See you at 2:00 this afternoon for the New York session. Hopefully you have a good morning and don't fall asleep watching the market. See you later.